Yeah.
Yeah. Nate, right here.
Okay, at this time, I will call the September meeting of the East Hempfield Township Zoning Hearing Board order. Members of the board who are present this evening, Mr. Hanson, Mr. Luce, Mr. Kyle, Mr. Bingham, also myself as chairman. On your right, far right, we have noise. On your far right, we have with us our zoning officer, Nate Sturgis, and on our right, we have with us our legal counsel, Jason Hess. Also this evening, we have with us a court reporter taking the minutes. We have scheduled tonight 3 cases and any continued old business. This board will hear each case in an informal manner without strict compliance with the rules of procedure used in a court trial. We ask that each applicant and any individuals interested in a particular case step in front of our table and explain the circumstances involved in their application. Applicants may present their cases themselves or through their attorneys or other representatives. My fellow board members and I, as well as the solicitor, may ask the applicant questions from time to time during the applicant's presentation or at its conclusion. All persons having an interest in the application will be given the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant, to offer evidence of their own, and inform the board of their position on the matter. In the interest of a prompt and orderly disposition of each case, we will ask interested people to refrain from speaking until the applicant's presentation has been completed and the board has had the opportunity to question the applicant. At the beginning of each case, people who are interested in the case should decide whether they desire to be parties to it. By being given the status of a party, that person will be entitled to receive notice of the decision in that case and will entitled to participate in any subsequent appeal or rehearing. Individuals who are not given party status may nevertheless ask questions, present evidence, but will not receive notice of the decision and will not automatically be entitled to participate in any appeal or subsequent rehearing. If you desire to be a party, we will ask you to sign an entry of appearance form at the appropriate time. And although each party will receive a written copy of the decision, mechanics of typing and signing, the decision will take approximately 4 weeks. We ask that each person who asks a question or makes a statement first state his or her name and address for the court reporter. Now, lastly, in the interest of time, I will administer the oath of affirmation to all applicants and to everyone and anyone who anticipates making any statement with respect to any of the hearings this evening. So at this time, would you all rise, please? Under penalty of perjury, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
And at this time, before we stand, is there anyone on Zoom?
There is not.
Okay.
Or, excuse me, there's one person.
Okay. The person on Zoom, I hope you were sworn in. Should you make any statements at the time, I will question you at that time. Be sure that you were sworn in. So at this time, everyone please rise. We'll salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Nate, the cases this evening have been advertised and property posted in accordance with Sunshine Law and the MPC.
Yes, they have.
Just so everyone knows, and those who may be on Zoom at this time, the township is holding meetings both in person and in Zoom. People who are on Zoom will have the ability to question and offer any comments. Gentlemen, won't be in the minutes, but you received a copy of the board minutes of August 16, 2021. There are no additions, deletions, or corrections to the board minutes as submitted by the secretary. I'd ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, the August 16 minutes, members' presence were listed. Drake Cottle will be present on the 16th. I don't believe he was here. Mr. Sturgis has already made that change to the minutes. So just so everybody's aware of that. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
As submitted with that change.
Yes.
Gentlemen, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Luce. Any discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none, Mr. Hanson?
In favor.
Mr. Luce?
In favor.
Mr. Kyle?
Abstaining since I wasn't present.
Mr. Bingham?
In favor.
And also vote in favor. The board minutes of August 16th, 2021 have been approved by 4-0-1 vote. Old business.
You want to approve?
There's none.
Yeah. That was for the 16th. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Bring my minutes up. Gentlemen, also in your packet, since we had 2 meetings last month, there was a copy of the August 23rd, 2021 board minutes. There are no additions, deletions, or corrections. I'll ask for a motion to approve the board minutes as submitted by the secretary.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Kyle. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bingham. Discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none, Mr. Hanson?
In favor.
Mr. Luce?
In favor.
Mr. Kyle? In favor. Mr. Bingham?
In favor.
And I also vote in favor. The August 23rd, 2020 board minutes have been approved 5-0. Since Nate already said there is no old business, gentlemen, we will proceed to new business. Nate, first case.
Case number 2438, Stone Real Estate Investments LLC for 143 Stony Battery Road, seeking use variance.
Gentlemen, you have received a copy of correspondence from Mr. Madiak, I think it's pronounced Madiak, representing his clients on case number 2438, asking that 2438 be continued at the October meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the request for case number 2438 to be taken off of today's agenda and continued in October?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bingham. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Luce. Any discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none, Mr. Hanson.
In favor.
Excuse me. Mr. Luce.
In favor.
Mr. Kyle.
In favor.
Mr. Bingham.
In favor.
And also vote in favor. Case number 2438 has been removed from today's agenda and will be put on the October 2021 agenda. Please, Nate, let Mr. Maniac know of the decision.
I think he knows.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Well, he can still let you know.
Okay. Nate, next case, please.
Case number 2439, Tribal Center for Pediatric Development, 625 Community Way, seeking the variance of time requirements for land development submission and final recording.
Okay, is someone here for Shriver Center for Pediatric Development?
Yes.
What, you didn't want to have 2 cases in one minute? Can't handle that?
Anyone else in the audience that wants to be a party to this case? Anyone on Zoom? Should ask that also.
Seeing none? Media?
Yes, I'm here tonight on behalf of Shriver Pediatric. Back in January of 2020, this board approved a number of variances and special exceptions related to the expansion of the facility located, of the current facility. Community Way?
Yes.
Located on Community Way. And we're back here tonight because the time to seek approvals has expired, and we need to have that extended by this board. Obviously, COVID interfered with a number of these plans. And we're actually nearing the timeframe within which we are going to submit to the board. I'm sorry, to the planning commission and to the township. But we do need an extension, and we're asking for an extension to submit that plan until December 31st, 2021, and final approvals by December 31st, 2022. And I didn't have a formal presentation, but I do have James Ward, president of Shriver, is here. Brian Cooley from DC Gone, who's preparing the land development plan, and also Paul Nicholas from RLPS, who's working on the architectural drawings.
So
Mr. Hanson.
my question, Mr. Maddock, is,
Yes,
you guys have been before us in January before this plan had expired, before the time limit expired. We're 9 months out. There have been no issue spending this because of it. But to me, it seems like somebody has dropped the ball big time, whether it was the engineering firm or somebody else. Somebody dropped the ball here because we're talking, this is 9 months after the year to submit the land development.
yes, it is. We actually submitted in August, so it was at 8 months, but yes, that time frame is there. Now, we are not proposing any changes to what we had sought before.
So you want another year for submission of the land development plan and then a year to start construction, correct?
And end of this year to submit, end of next year to get final approvals and start construction.
Again, to me, and I went through the zoning ordinance, to really try and come up to back this, but I can't find anything. Technically, your group,
It could be, you could approve it as a modification of the prior decision.
how can we make a modification after it's already expired? That's what I can't find in the zoning ordinance. I mean, technically, realistically, if we go by the zoning ordinance, Shriver should have to resubmit and get approval all over again.
That was an alternative request that we had
There is
in the
nothing-
application.
There is nothing in the zoning ordinance that says we can do this.
Well, there's a provision in the ordinance that allows you to modify, but
We'll modify, but that's based on if the approvals are still valid. These approvals, because you didn't submit within the year, are no longer valid. They've expired.
I would argue it's within your power to grant that modification.
You can argue it, I'm not sure it is. I mean, I've been doing this now for 17 years, and I'm not sure it's within our power to do that. Thank you.
Other questions? Mr. Kyle.
I'd be curious to hear from our solicitor, Jason, on our ability to do that.
There's definitely precedent for requesting modifications of decisions, and if the timeframe is part of the condition of approval, and it's definitely subject to the discretion of the board, and the board has discretion to complete discretion to, if they believe the timeframe is unreasonable, to deny it. But I believe a party can request a modification of the decision, including the timeframes that were set forth there.
And the timeframes were part of the relief originally requested.
I realize that. Like I said, you've been here in January, February. I don't think anybody would have a problem. I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I don't think anybody would have a problem granting you the extra time. But time has expired by, let's go 8 months because you submitted in August. I won't give it submittal time. I agree with our attorney that there is precedence for us making modifications to our decisions, but they're usually done within the time frame, not after the time is expired.
I understand your feelings. as part of our request, we did, as an alternative request, we requested a variance for the entire approval again. Nothing would have changed from that time frame from the prior approval. And we could ask the board to take judicial notice if they so chose to re-grant the variance. The variances and exceptions that were granted there originally.
And I would not have a problem granting everything over again, but my issue here is we have two time extension requests before us tonight.
Mhm.
And they're both expired. So now, if I grant you your time request, I almost have to do that, and each case is on its own merits, but now I almost have to do that for the other time request, and they're only less than 30 days out of time, out of their time period. So it kind of puts the board here in
I apologize for putting the board in a difficult position.
all right, thank you.
I did, yeah. Any other questions, gentlemen?
Nate, I have one of you. Do you, and understand that you've only been in this position for a couple months now, but has Shriver Center or their representatives been in contact with the township since our approval to move forward with any of the plans? Do you have any knowledge?
We met with them approximately a month ago to discuss the project and moving forward. And that's when it was brought up that
That was the first time
that I'm aware of.
that you're aware of.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I understand about the time period. Any other questions? Jason? Oh, well, first of all, Nate, do you have any questions? Jason, do you have anything? Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions for the witness and or on Zoom? Seeing none in the audience, I presume nothing on Zoom. Okay. Anything else you want to add before we
No.
conclude this one? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, at this time, we will admit into evidence, in this case, case number 20, take administrative notice of case number 2406. That will be made part of this record. Comments and submittal will be added to the record. There is no exhibits, so with that, gentlemen, I will listen to a motion if there is one.
I have one question.
Excuse me, Mr. Hanson.
Mr. Mattiak,
Yes.
on the application page, you asked for a time extension pursuant to section 270-9.1D 13F. In your narrative that you submitted, you say it's
The 13E.
13E, which is correct.
I'd have to look at the zoning ordinance to be certain.
I think E is probably the one you're looking for.
I was thinking E was the one with the submission of the plans, yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. It is E then.
Okay, then with that, before we proceed, gentlemen, at the request of the applicant, we are asked to amend the application on the nature of the request of the applicable section number. The time extension as listed is 270-9.1.D 13F. The applicant would like to change that to 270-9.1.D 13E. Can I have that as a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hanson, second. Second by Mr. Kyle. Any discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none. Mr. Hanson.
In favor.
Mr. Woods. In favor. Mr. Kyle. In favor. Mr. Payne.
In favor.
And also vote in favor. The application has been amended to reference subsection E. Okay, now, gentlemen, with that, I will listen to a motion in case number 2439, if there is one at this time.
Mr. Chairman, request of, case number 2439, request of Schreiber Center for Pediatric Development. Property located 625 Community Way, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Make a motion to deny the request for a time extension pursuant to section 270-9.1D13E. Due to the fact this is 9 months after it expired. That'd be my motion, and then I have some comments.
Okay, I have a motion in case number 2439 for Schreiber Center for Pediatric Development, 625 Community Way, Lancaster, PA, to deny the request for a modification of decision of case 2406, since the time period in case number 2406 has expired. With the following conditions, those conditions that this board places on all cases. Is that your motion, Mr. Hanson?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second, gentlemen? I will vote or make the second, so we have the motion on the floor.
Just a point of clarification, I think if your motion is to deny, then I don't think there's a need for conditions because it would be a denial.
Sure. Didn't think of it that way, but you're. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay, discussion, gentlemen, Mr. Hanson.
So it really pains me to deny this request. However, we're not talking 30 days out. We're talking 9 months, 8 months, because we'll go with 8 because you guys approached township in August. This really should be submitted with a new case number. To amend the application tonight, to change it, to give you all the approvals again would be so far off the original request of your case that I don't think legally we can do that. Because it was up to me, I could do it tonight, but I don't think legally we can do that. So again, it does pain me to do this because I think you guys do great work, but 8 months, then somebody dropped the ball. And I just can't. The hardship's just not there. I really don't see a hardship here.
Any other discussion, gentlemen? Okay, the motion before us is to deny the request. Mr. Hanson.
In favor.
Mr. Luce. In favor. Mr. Kyle.
Opposed.
Mr. Bingham.
In favor.
And I'll also vote in favor. The request for a modification to the decision, case number 2406, has been denied. I just want to make one comment. I won't repeat what Mr. Hanson said, but the question I asked of the township was about the activity of the applicant to address the issues the applicant had, and even with the pandemic, had over a year to address these concerns and come forward to the township. In my opinion, waiting to the 8th month was not a work in good faith. I know that the engineers have been in front of this board my 40-some years prior to this date and have asked for extensions of time, and they have been here in sufficient time to get the request. So that was why I voted for the motion. With that, case number 2439 has been denied. Thank you. Okay. Next case, please.
Case number 2440, Lisa Cooper for 2111 Marietta Avenue, requesting a time extension of the requirements for land development submission and final recording.
Okay, is Ms. Cooper here or?
I am.
Okay, is anyone in the audience or on Zoom that wants to be a party to this case? Seeing none. Before we proceed, Ms. Cooper, on case number 2440, and our solicitor will correct me if I get this wrong, but you are asking for a modification to the prior decision based on circumstances that transpired since the decision. And it seems that one of two things. One is either this really should be under case 2416, or an application should have been filed for case number 2440. So Jason, jump in here, please.
Yeah, sure. You did not file a new application, right? You just.
Did not. My understanding is that my timeframe starts the day I got the written notice, which would have been September 24th, 2020. We filed an extension because we lost almost 5 months because the commissioners filed an appeal. So we had to go through all that to negotiate the sidewalk situation. In the meantime, Craig Strasser basically dropped the ball. I now have a new engineer who told me he should have a preliminary plan within 6 months and a final plan within 1 year.
Okay, and those are the grounds for your requesting extension,
Correct.
but just, and as far as it was just a procedural question that you did not file a new application, it was just a letter requesting an
Correct.
extension.
That's what John Beck told us to do.
Okay, so I think it's appropriate for this to be heard under the original case number, since there was no new application filed.
Right. Okay.
So you would agree to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so literally what we will do is,
I believe that it would be appropriate to have a motion to amend this matter to reflect that it's under case number 2416 rather than having a new case number.
do we deny the request under 2440 and go back to the 2416? How do we get 2440 off the?
I think a motion to amend the case number to be 20, so that it's being heard under case number 2416 is insufficient.
Okay, then case number 2440, we're amending this, be assigned to another case?
Good question.
That's why I'm trying to get this straightened out, so it's not a problem for Nate down the road and or the township.
I think, yeah, if we're striking case number 2440 and amending it to be case 2416, I believe it could be assigned a new case to be assigned that number.
Okay, gentlemen, after listening to our solicitor, the applicant is requesting that we amend request under case number 2440 to revert back to a request for modification under case number 2416. That's the motion I need, gentlemen. Can I have that, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hanson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bingham, that we are amending case number 2440 to revert back to case number 2416, in which case 2440 will not be in play. Does everybody understand where we're at on this, gentlemen?
this as part of the township?
At this time, yes. No questions, Mr. Hanson.
In favor.
Mr. Lewis.
In favor.
Mr. Kyle. In favor. Mr. Bingham.
In favor.
And I will also vote in favor. Now, Ms. Cooper, and board and anyone in the audience and on Zoom, the request in front of us has not changed. It's just asking for a modification to the decision, to a part of the decision in the case number 2416. With that, Ms. Cooper, would you like to present your case, please?
Basically, my case is that I got held up for almost 5 months because the East Hempfield Township Commissioners sued.
Excuse me one second, I have to do this because of my former job.
Okay.
East Hempfield Township Supervisors,
Oh, sorry.
no problem.
East Hempfield Township Supervisors appealed the decision that I got approval, and it was all based on sidewalks, which I had no problem negotiating with them. And we got that finalized in February. So from October till February, we could do nothing because I couldn't spend money without knowing that I'd be able to do this project. Then Greg Strasser completely dropped the ball. When I told him I was going to call him every day until he got this thing underway, he told me I should probably hire somebody else, which I've done. So I've now hired Steve Gergley at Harbor Engineering. And he told me that he can get the preliminary done, worst case scenario, 6 months, and the final worst case scenario, 12 months. So I'm looking for an extension.
So you're looking for extension, just so I'm clear on this, since everything else was confusing. You want 6 months from the date of the decision, which if it's approved to be tonight, to submit the plans, and 1 year
For the
from
final,
tonight's decision to complete the job
correct.
project. Okay, thank you for
Thank you.
clarifying that.
So,
Anything else?
I have nothing else.
Okay, Mr. Hanson?
couple questions. Number one, you almost had a month before the township filed their review.
Right.
So,
And I did do some of the work, but it's not all done. And then when the township filed their appeal, I stopped spending money.
I understand that. The township filed the request to discontinue on February 4th.
Correct.
6 months later is August 4th.
That's correct. And we,
Your letter was submitted August 25th.
right, because I didn't know that our approval expired because Greg Strasser didn't tell me. When I hired Steve Gergley, he's the one that told me.
I understand that, but again, this is, if you'd submitted a letter before the 25th, so it could have been on. So
But I didn't know.
I understand it, but you had almost a month before the township made your appeal. So you actually almost had 7 months to complete this.
Right, when I should have had 12.
And the original decision gave you 6 months and a year to find.
On October 22nd, the township filed the appeal. I was approved on September 24th.
So you almost had 30 days right there.
Right,
Going.
and I did. We dug the holes and did the perk and pro test. And then I stopped doing anything because I didn't know what I could do. Then the ground was frozen. And Greg Strasser did nothing, which is why I now have a different engineer. And Greg Strasser would tell you that if he were here.
The negotiation came out with the township, and maybe this is a question for the township, but I'm not sure. What is a sidewalk installation deferment agreement?
Do you want me to tell you what I had to do?
That's fine.
I had to sign an agreement with the township that said, if the township ever requires sidewalk on Marietta Avenue, I would put them in.
Okay. That's what I thought, I just wanted.
They're not making me do it now, but if they're ever required on that side of the street.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, gentlemen? Again, I'll ask the same question of Nate and with the same stipulations, since you're relatively new on this. Do you know if, besides the negotiations that the township had with Mrs. Cooper, was there an engineer in contact with the township prior to the letter being submitted?
Other than mentioning to Steve Gergley that they would need to request an extension, I'm not aware. I know John Beck spoke to him a little bit.
When did you possibly talk with, again, whether it was you or Mr. Beck, possibly talk to Mr. Gerber? Do you know approximately?
Approximately a month ago, right before the submittal deadline for the zoning report this month.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Other questions, gentlemen? Nate, do you have any questions of the name? Jason, do you have any questions?
No, I, except maybe for the township, I mean, since this was a settlement, between, the decision resulted in a settlement, does the township have any position on this request?
We do not know.
Cindy, could you just state your name and
Cindy Schweitzer, Township Manager.
thank you. Is that it? Anyone in the audience have any questions, and Zoom, any questions of the applicant? Seeing none, does anyone in the audience have any and Zoom, any comments pro or con to this request? Seeing none, anything else, Mr.
I have
Hanson?
a couple comments. Ms. Cooper, I really feel bad for you.
No, I don't think you do.
No, I do, trust me, but
This,
I'm not sure that there's, again, I'll state it again, as in the last case. Time has expired.
No, it hasn't. The decision starts from the 24th of September, which is when I got written notice. Today is the 20th of September. I'm 4 days short of being expired.
You had 6 months to submit.
Right, and I was shut down for almost five,
You were shut down from October 22nd
to
to
February.
February 4th. If you go from February 4th to today.
And I
that's
told
6
you what the
months.
problem was that I had.
I
And I
understand.
know that's not your problem, it's my problem, but I've done something about it, which is hire another engineer.
And I understand that. My problem is there's nothing in the zoning ordinance, once it's expired, that allows me for you to come back to us and say, hey, can you grant me the same changes, or I want the same things that you granted before? That will change the whole nature of your request.
Why?
Legally, we can't do that
Why?
because the MPC doesn't allow us to do that, the municipal planning code. So our zoning ordinance says that you have this much time. There's nothing, our zoning ordinance does allow us to modify conditions if you're within the time period. The time period, and again, you're much better than the last.
I
people.
understand.
But there's nothing, I don't think there's legally, again, and Mr. Hess has said we can modify conditions, but I don't think there's anything legally that we can do here. Because if we were to grant you this, and somebody appealed the decision, the courts would throw it right back at us and say, we were wrong.
We've not had anybody object to this project.
I'm not saying anybody's objecting to
Then who would appeal it?
it. I don't know. All I know is your time has expired, and legally, according to our zoning ordinance and according to the MPC, I don't think there's anything we can do about this. If you came before me next month and submitted the same application you did before, I'd grant you the same thing all over again. Because I can legally do that. But legally, I can't grant you a time extension after your time has already expired.
I strongly disagree.
Thank you.
anything else, Mr. Kyle?
Can I ask Jason if the applicant's time has expired or not? the time for the applicant to file a subdivision land development plan when there's an appeal is 6 months from when that appeal is resolved. So the appeal was resolved on February 4th. And a subdivision land development plan would have had to be submitted by August 4th under the ordinance.
Thank you. Anything else? Anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't want to have to start over. I mean, this has already taken me over 2 years. Not your fault, just mine. Only 4.5 months of it's your fault.
Actually, it's not our fault, it's the supervisor's fault.
Well, whatever.
With that, we will conclude testimony in case number 2416, requesting a modification to the decision in case number 2416. The written letter from Gibble, Grable, and Hess will be submitted as part of the record. We will take administrative notice of case number 2416. They will all be added into the record. With that, gentlemen, I will listen to a motion in case number 2416, if there is one at this time.
Mr. Chairman, case number 2416 for property located at 2111 Marietta Avenue, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Make a motion to deny the modification of conditions request based on the time has expired before the request was made.
Motion by Mr. Hanson, case number 2416 for the property located at 2111 Marietta Avenue, Lancaster, PA, to deny the request for modification to the decision on case number 2416 due to the time having expired before request was made for an extension of the time limitations.
Can I interrupt?
Is that your motion, Mr.?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second? Again, I will second it to get it on the floor. With that, yes, Mrs. Cooper.
Mr. Hanson just told Schreiber Pediatric if they were filing an extension within 30 days, he would have approved it, but they were 8 months out. So I'm within 30 days on my 6 months, and I'm within the time frame of 1 year. So why is he telling them if they were filing an extension within 30 days, he'd approve it, but he's not approving mine?
You misunderstood.
No, I don't think I
What
did.
was talking about was, if they had filed a request in January before their time was up, but it didn't approach us to the February meeting, we would have granted them that.
That's what I just did.
You, again, I'm sorry, I feel bad for both of you guys, I really do. And I really feel for them because of what they do. I like what you were doing here, I really did. I actually made the motion for your last case. Go back and check the record. I'm the one that made the motion to grant you the approvals. But again, legally, I don't think there's anything we can do.
And just to clear the record, Mrs. Cooper, you are partially right. You are still within the 1 year to file or receive the approvals, but you are out of time for submitting.
By 20 days.
No, 6 months
No, because you can't count when I was
No, I'm
appealing,
counting from, February.
right,
You have 1 month till the township appeal. Then you could get November, December, January, February. So then you have March, April, May, June, July, August. And I'll grant you August because Mr. Sturgis said that your engineer met with him. That's 7 months out, so you're a month out
okay,
minimum. So I'm just making the record state that you are not totally in compliance, you are partially in compliance, but I don't know how you could file the plans tomorrow and get final approval.
it's impossible,
It's impossible.
right.
That's, I think, what Mr. Hanson is saying. I just want to make sure that the record is clear on that. Gentlemen, we have a motion to deny the request for modification for case number 2416. Any discussion or comments?
Just,
Mr. Bingham?
yes, a question for our solicitor. In the previous case discussion, you talked about what our options were.
Yes.
Any of them apply to this case?
I believe that the board has the ability, but not the obligation to grant an extension. It's within the board's ability to approve that. The board has jurisdiction to hear that. It's a matter of complete discretion, and she's basically at the mercy of the board, but the board has the ability to do that.
Every time extension that ever been granted by this board is up on has always been granted because they asked before time expired. I don't see anything in the zoning ordinance, and I'll say it again, there's nothing in the zoning ordinances that allows us to grant an extension of time after the time's already expired.
That an applicant can come and seek modifications of conditions imposed, and that would include time limitations.
Your question answered.
Yes.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Mr. Hanson,
In favor.
Mr. Luce,
Opposed.
Mr. Kyle,
Opposed.
Mr. Bingham.
Opposed.
I am torn on this case. I'll make the statement before I vote, just so everybody knows where I'm coming. I agree with Mr. Hanson about applicants should come in beforehand. Why I am torn is a couple reasons. One, the township had gotten involved in an appeal and moved forward on that appeal. They were able to work something out with the applicant, which I think is probably addresses an issue that some of us had on the original case. I don't like the idea that applicants come in afterwards and after the fact, which is basically what has happened. We've had that in the past and we voted against it. I do think this is a great project for that piece of property. I am going to vote in favor of the motion because there is 3 that will carry, that the applicant will get what she is requesting. But I am making this statement so that in the future, anyone who comes in for the front of this board wanting an extension of time, whether it's 5 days late or 9 months late, I agree with Mr. Hanson. There's a problem. They should have been proactive. I know it's not in all cases the applicant per se, but it's their representatives who
Absolutely.
didn't carry the ball, and it's not the township's responsibility to address that issue. So with that being said, I will vote no. But in case number 2416, the motion has been denied. So now, gentlemen, I do need a positive.
That's correct.
I need a motion, gentlemen, for case number 2416.
Mr. Chairman, case 2416, I move that we approve the extension of time. Doesn't require 6 months.
6 months for
filing,
preliminary.
12 months for completion.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Luce in case number 2416 to grant the request for modification to the time extension requirements for submitting a land development plan and receiving final approval and recording.
Can I make a comment though?
Not yet. For that the plan will be submitted by March 2022, and the plan and will be submission and final recording in September of 2022. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bingham. Discussion, Mr. Luce.
The reason I made the motion in favor this time versus the last one is because of the circumstance behind it.
Okay.
I do believe that the township was somehow a causative factor behind this. I do understand the COVID situation as well. And I don't think there was anything that represented that in the last case. And we have seen this, we understand exactly what's going on.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mr.
I
Hanson.
agree with what Mr. Hanson had said though.
So again, I originally made the motion to approve this plan because I think what you're doing here, and again, I'll say it, I think it's a good thing. Again, for the board, I think for the board to approve this plan, legally, we have no basis for it. We have no legal basis to approve this because you're out of time. And is it your fault you're out of time? Absolutely not. But I can't take that into opinion. Because legally, I don't think we have any recourse to stand on here. We can modify conditions as long as they're done within the time frame. Once the time frame expires, I don't think legally we can do them. So, and again, I'm gonna vote no for the same reason.
Anything else?
Having made the second, I would say that I fully agree with Mr. Hanson's position on the first case, no problem. But I also was taking into account what our solicitor told us about our ability with our discretion to make this modification. So I'm not sure that I agree with Mr. Hanson that we don't have the legal authority. That may require checking further than we have this evening. But that's why I voted against that and vote in favor of the current motion.
So, and I agree with our solicitor, the fact that we can make a modification to conditions. Where I'm disagreeing is the fact there's nothing in our zoning ordinance, there's nothing in the MPC. Matter of fact, the MPC says you have time limits there for a reason. And once the time limit's up, the decision is null. For whatever reason, and again, I do feel sorry for you, I really do, but legally, I don't think we have a leg to stand on here. That's
But
why
your
I voted
solicitor told you you had the discretion to do it.
to modify condition. And I agree, we have discretion to modify conditions as long as the time has not expired. Once time's expired, I don't see that.
That's not what he said.
We're not getting into a discussion or argument here. He did. Cut it at that. Mr. Hanson, how do you vote?
Opposed.
Mr. Blues? In favor. Mr. Cobb? In favor. Mr. Bingham?
In favor.
And I will also vote in the negative. Your request for a modification in case number 2416 has been granted. That you have 6 months till March of 2022 to file the plans and submit the plans and then final approval on September of 2022.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So, thank you. Nate, any other business?
There's not.
October 18th is our next meeting. I think that's the date.
That's correct, yes.
We'll have 2 cases, correct?
Correct.
The competing one and the new one.
Gentlemen, everybody committee? Jason?
Pretty back in count.
More important, can you? Thank you. Okay, with that, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Get that signature process.
And so, I do have questions.
There's